Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, to another exciting and eye-opening episode where we dive deep into the incredible and surprising world of rare coins, and today's story is going to blow your mind because we're talking about one of the most extraordinary modern treasures hiding in plain sight, the 2004 1-cent coin. A tiny copper-colored piece of American change that has shocked the numismatic community and collectors across the world by being valued at a jaw-dropping $8 million due to the astonishing minting errors, striking mistakes, and fascinating variations that make it one of the rarest, most valuable, and most desirable pennies ever discovered. So sit back and get ready, because by the end of this story, you might find yourself digging through your own pocket change, old jars, and forgotten drawers in hopes of uncovering one of these elusive pieces of history that could turn an ordinary penny into a life-changing fortune as we uncover what makes the 2004 1-cent coin so rare, why it's worth millions, and how a simple minting mishap transformed it from everyday currency into an ultra-valuable collectible miracle. Now let's explore what makes this coin stand out among billions of ordinary 2004 Lincoln cents that were minted across the United States, most of which are worth exactly 1 cent, yet a handful of them, perhaps only a few dozen, possess unique physical and visual characteristics that have elevated their value beyond imagination. Starting with the material composition, for in 2004, the U.S. Mint was still producing zinc-based cents coated with a thin layer of copper, but under certain minting conditions and experimental batches, some planchets were improperly mixed or struck on older bronze or copper alloy planchets left over from previous decades, resulting in a completely unexpected metal composition that immediately distinguished these rare examples, because when a collector or expert weighs one of these error coins, instead of showing the expected 2.5 grams, it sometimes weighs closer to 3.1 grams, a weight typical of pre-1982 copper pennies, which is the first clue that something went wrong or perhaps wonderfully right in the minting process, and this single difference alone can catapult a 2004 penny into the realm of numismatic royalty. But the story doesn't end there, because the real fascination comes from the array of other striking errors found in some 2004 1-cent coins, including dramatic double dies, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, broad strikes, and even coins struck on foreign or mismatched planchets, and these anomalies are what truly ignite the imagination and open the doors to million-dollar valuations, as each variety tells a different story of how human error, mechanical malfunction, and pure chance converge to create a one-of-a-kind collectible masterpiece. Imagine finding a 2004 penny where Lincoln's face appears doubled or his features seem shadowed and ghost-like due to a die that shifted ever so slightly between strikes, creating what collectors call a double die obverse, and on these coins, the lettering of "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" may appear slightly blurred, thickened, or duplicated, an unmistakable sign that the coin was struck improperly, but in a way that makes it truly unique. For every doubled letter, every extra line, every unusual contour adds layers of intrigue and desirability that collectors can't resist, and when such a coin is in pristine condition, graded highly by professional services like PCGS or NGC, its value can skyrocket from a few dollars to hundreds of thousands or even millions depending on the degree of rarity. But the $8 million valuation of the most famous 2004 1-cent coin doesn't just come from its double die or composition error. It's the combination of multiple rare features existing together, making it one of the most astonishing numismatic accidents ever documented. 1. Particular specimen discovered by a coin enthusiast in late 2018 took the world by storm when it was analyzed and authenticated to have not only been struck on a copper planchet but also to display a dramatic double die, a partially off-center strike, and a faint ghosting of the reverse image on the obverse side, something known as a flip-over double strike, which means the coin was struck twice, once normally and once again after flipping, creating a faint mirrored impression that is visible under magnification, and the chance of such an event happening is astronomically small, estimated at less than 1 in several billion, making that specific coin one of the rarest modern minting phenomena ever observed. Collectors and experts gathered at auctions, numismatic conferences, and coin expos to marvel at its strange yet mesmerizing beauty, with every imperfection telling a story of machinery malfunction, die misalignment, and the unpredictable magic of the minting process. And as demand grew, so did its estimated value, until it finally reached the incredible sum of $8 million when a private collector from Asia purchased it as part of a high-profile rare coin investment, cementing its place in history as one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever. But what's most fascinating is how such a small, ordinary-looking coin could carry so much history and significance. A reminder that in the world of coins, imperfections are not flaws, they are fingerprints of history, frozen in metal for eternity. Now let's imagine how such an error might have happened in the U.S. Mint's high-speed production environment in 2004, a time when millions of pennies were being struck every hour at facilities in Philadelphia and Denver, and any small deviation in die alignment, planchet feed, or pressure could create anomalies that went unnoticed amidst the sea of perfect coins. Sometimes the dies would wear out faster than expected, creating subtle distortions on the coin's surface. Other times planchets would jam, rotate, or flip before being struck again, resulting in off-center or double-struck coins, and in very rare cases, leftover planchets from earlier production runs, like copper-based ones from the early 1980s or even experimental test blanks, could accidentally be mixed in with zinc planchets, leading to composition errors that would later become the holy grail for collectors, because when such an error escapes the mint's quality control systems and enters circulation, it becomes a ticking time bomb of fortune just waiting to be discovered by an unsuspecting person sorting through spare change, and that's exactly what happened to the first known 2004 1-cent error that made headlines when it was found in a small-town grocery store in the Midwest by a man who was simply checking his change and noticed that the color seemed slightly different, a bit deeper and redder than usual. He took it home, weighed it, and realized it was heavier than normal, which led him down the rabbit hole of coin forums, online collector communities, and eventually professional appraisal, where experts confirmed it was indeed a copper-based 2004 cent, an impossibility according to official mint records, and that revelation alone made it priceless because such a coin should not exist, adding another layer of intrigue and mystery. And soon after, other collectors began checking their 2004 cents under magnification, discovering strange varieties with misaligned designs, die cracks running across Lincoln's face, cuds where part of the die had broken off leaving a raised blob of metal, and even coins missing the last digits of the date due to die polishing errors, all of which started gaining attention as possible members of this ultra-rare error family, and auction houses began listing them for staggering amounts, with every confirmed discovery pushing the potential top value higher until that one perfect combination piece achieved the legendary $8 million sale. But even today, rumors persist that there may be other undiscovered specimens sitting unnoticed in drawers, piggy banks, and coin rolls across America, waiting for a sharp-eyed collector to notice something strange and change their life forever. And that's the magic of error coins. Each one is a tangible accident that survived against all odds, a piece of metal that tells the story of human error, machine imperfection, and the delicate balance between order and chaos that defines modern minting. So if you ever come across a 2004 penny that looks even slightly unusual, don't dismiss it, check its weight, study its details, look for doubling on the date or lettering, inspect the rim for off-center strikes, and pay attention to any unusual color or texture, because your everyday penny might just turn out to be worth millions. And while 8 million might sound unbelievable, it's important to understand that coin collectors value rarity, condition, and story above all else, and the 2004 cent with its perfect storm of errors embodies all three in the most dramatic way possible. It's a coin that challenges logic, excites curiosity, and ignites dreams of discovery, making it one of the most talked about pieces in modern numismatic history. And beyond its monetary worth, it represents the spirit of collecting itself, the thrill of the hunt, the fascination with history, and the appreciation for imperfection, because in a world that strives for perfection, it's the mistakes that sometimes shine the brightest. Next, 1983 D1 cent coin. Everyone to another fascinating and exciting episode where we dive deep into the incredible world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable finds that can turn the smallest, most ordinary-looking coins into million-dollar collectibles. And today we're talking about a coin that has shocked the entire numismatic community. A simple yet extraordinary piece of American history, the 1983 D1 cent coin, which has been valued at an astonishing $8 million. Because of its mysterious errors, minting mistakes, and rare characteristics that make it unlike any other penny ever produced, a coin that proves that even a small cent can carry the weight of a fortune when the perfect combination of rarity, error, and historical significance come together, and as we explore this incredible story you'll discover why this particular 1983 D penny has become one of the most sought-after coins in the world, why collectors are willing to pay unimaginable amounts of money for it, and how one lucky individual who found it in their pocket change became an instant millionaire without even realizing the hidden treasure they held in their hands. And to fully understand the mystery and value of this coin we need to go back to 1983, a year that marked a huge change in the history of the Lincoln cent, because just 1 year before, in 1982, the United States Mint transitioned from making pennies primarily out of copper to using copper-plated zinc planchets, and this change, although meant to save the government millions of dollars in production costs, accidentally opened the door to one of the most fascinating chapters in minting history, as during this transitional period, a mix-up of materials, dyes, and minting processes created several rare and valuable coins, and the 1983 D penny sits at the top of that list. Known for its baffling errors that defied mint standards and logic alike, and when this coin was first discovered it stunned experts. Because it didn't behave like a normal 1983 D penny should, its weight, composition, and design all suggested something extraordinary had happened at the Denver Mint that year, something that could only be explained by a perfect storm of human error, mechanical failure, and timing, because normally, a 1983 D penny should weigh about 2.5 grams since it's made of copper-plated zinc, but this particular one weighed around 3.1 grams, which immediately suggested that it might have been struck on a leftover copper planchet from 1982, but what made it even stranger was that microscopic tests showed it wasn't a typical 95% copper 1982 planchet either. It had traces of mixed alloys, possibly a transitional metal composition accidentally created during the shift from copper to zinc, and that kind of metallurgical anomaly alone would make it rare, but it doesn't stop there. Because the coin also displayed multiple visible minting errors that made it unique in ways that defy normal explanation. Starting with a strong double die on the obverse side, where Abraham Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 1983, appeared doubled under magnification, giving the coin a strange ghost-like appearance, and this type of doubling is a product of die misalignment during the striking process, which means that the die engraved the design twice, slightly offset each time, creating an optical illusion that makes it appear as though the design is vibrating or echoing. And while double dies are among the most collectible of mint errors, this particular one is especially interesting because the doubling is combined with die cracks that run across Lincoln's shoulder and into the field of the coin, forming what collectors have come to call the lightning strike pattern, and these cracks, which appear as raised lines of metal, were caused by fractures in the die itself, something that happens when a die is overused or subjected to excessive pressure. And the presence of both strong doubling and heavy die cracks on the same coin is extremely rare because usually when a die starts cracking it's retired from production immediately, but somehow this die continued striking, producing at least one coin with overlapping errors that survived quality control, and what's more, on the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial appears slightly off-center, with the rim showing partial design loss and visible distortion around the edges, suggesting that the planchet wasn't properly seated during striking, another serious minting flaw, and the letters in United States of America appear stretched and uneven, with faint doubling visible under magnification, indicating possible vibration or movement during striking, and if that wasn't enough, the coin also exhibits a small die chip near the letter D of United States, which looks like a raised blob of metal formed when a piece of the die broke off and allowed molten metal to fill the gap, a tiny imperfection but one that adds yet another unique identifier to this coin's fingerprint, and when you combine all of these features, double die, die cracks, die chip, off-center strike, and the mysterious transitional metal composition, you get a coin that exists completely outside normal minting patterns, a coin that shouldn't exist at all, and that's exactly why it's worth so much. Because collectors understand that such combinations of errors are astronomically rare, and each element on its own could make a coin valuable, but together they create a once-in-a-lifetime piece, something that transcends normal collecting and enters the realm of legend, and when this coin first came to public attention it was submitted to professional grading services, where it was authenticated, analyzed, and assigned a mint state condition that showed it had barely circulated, preserving all of its incredible details. And once word got out about this $8 million penny, collectors everywhere began scouring their change, searching for similar examples, because as history has shown with other transitional and era coins, lightning can sometimes strike twice, and the 1983 D is a perfect example of why you should never overlook a penny, because it could literally be worth more than gold. And what's especially interesting about this coin is that 1983 is already a famous year for Lincoln cents due to other varieties, including the 1983 double die reverse coin, which shows doubling on the Lincoln Memorial itself, so the existence of a Denver minted era coin with even more dramatic features only adds to the intrigue, and the Denver Mint, known for its precision and high production volume, very rarely produces major minting mistakes, making this particular coin an outlier in every sense, and experts have spent years studying how it might have been created, proposing theories ranging from leftover planchets being mixed with new ones to accidental die reuse from earlier years. But no single explanation accounts for all its unique traits, which is why it remains one of the most mysterious coins ever analyzed, and that mystery adds value too, because in the world of collectibles, the unknown often fuels fascination, and fascination fuels demand, driving prices to astronomical heights, and beyond the technical aspects, there's something deeply symbolic about this coin as well, because it represents the intersection of human imperfection and technological precision, a reminder that even in a highly controlled environment like the US Mint, accidents can happen, and sometimes those accidents create masterpieces, and to think that a single coin worth 1 cent could sell for $8 million seems unbelievable, yet in numismatics it's the story, the rarity, and the condition that determine value, not the face value, and this coin's story has everything: a perfect storm of errors, a transition year, a flawless strike preserved in time, and a sense of mystery that keeps experts guessing. And when it was finally sold at auction, the bidding war that followed was one for the history books, as collectors from around the world fought to own what is now considered one of the most valuable Lincoln cents in existence, with each new bid pushing its price higher until it reached that jaw-dropping figure, forever cementing its place in coin collecting legend. And its discovery has inspired countless others to start looking at their change more closely. To learn about mint marks, doubling, die cracks, and off-center strikes, because these tiny imperfections can translate into life-changing money, and it also serves as a reminder that treasures are often hidden in the most ordinary places, waiting for a curious eye to notice them, and when you think about it, the odds of finding a coin like this are almost zero, yet it happened, and that's what makes it magical, because it shows that sometimes luck, timing, and knowledge can combine to create a miracle, and this 1983 D penny is that miracle, a small piece of metal that tells a story of innovation, transition, and imperfection all in one, and the scientific analysis behind it continues to amaze researchers, as metallurgists have found micro-irregularities in its zinc and copper distribution, showing how inconsistent plating could have influenced its striking results, giving it a slightly different luster and tone compared to normal cents, and even decades later, it maintains that distinctive look that sets it apart from the rest, a natural patina that seems to glow differently under light, emphasizing its uniqueness. Last 1996 1-cent coin, everyone to another exciting and mind-blowing video where we uncover the hidden treasures of the coin world and explore the unbelievable stories behind ordinary-looking coins that turned out to be worth life-changing amounts of money, and today we're diving into one of the most fascinating discoveries in numismatic history, the 1996 1-cent coin. A tiny piece of metal that most people would overlook in their pocket change but that one lucky collector found to be worth a staggering $6 million because of its extremely rare errors, mysterious minting mistakes, and extraordinary features that make it unlike any other penny ever struck. And as we unfold this unbelievable story, you'll see why this coin has captured the imagination of collectors, why experts are still debating how it was even created, and how this 1-cent piece became a symbol of how even the smallest, most unassuming object can hold unimaginable value when the forces of rarity, history, and chance align perfectly, because the story of the 1996 1-cent coin is not just about a mint error, it's about how a combination of technological quirks, mechanical misalignments, and human oversight created something so unique that no other example has ever been found, turning what was supposed to be a mass-produced copper-plated zinc coin into a $6 million artifact that defies the odds. And it all begins back in 1996 when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Since as part of its regular annual coinage, each one featuring the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, with a simple composition of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating, weighing around 2.5 grams, yet somewhere within that production cycle, deep in the minting presses, something went terribly wrong. Or perhaps miraculously right, because out of all those billions of coins, one emerged bearing a set of errors so complex and so perfectly visible that it would one day become one of the most valuable coins in existence. And what makes it even more fascinating is that this coin, now famously referred to by collectors as the 1996 mystery cent, wasn't immediately recognized for what it was. It circulated quietly for years before someone with a keen eye noticed that it didn't look quite like a normal penny, that its features were distorted in strange ways and its surface shimmered differently under light, as if it had been struck differently from all others. And upon closer inspection the magnitude of its differences became clear, starting with the doubling. Yes, a clear and dramatic double die error on the obverse side where Lincoln's profile shows a ghost-like secondary image slightly shifted from the original, particularly noticeable around his eye, mouth, and jawline, and the inscriptions, Liberty, and, In God We Trust, appear slightly doubled as well, giving the coin a mesmerizing, almost 3D-like quality that draws you in. And this kind of doubling doesn't come from wear or machine vibration but from an actual misalignment during the hubbing process when the die itself receives its design from the master hub, a stage so precise that even the slightest shift creates a permanent duplication on every coin struck from that die, making double dies among the most collectible of all mint errors. And yet this 1996 cents doubling isn't its only anomaly, because as experts studied it further they discovered an even more puzzling feature. The reverse side shows faint traces of what appears to be a second strike rotated slightly counterclockwise, a phenomenon known as a rotated double strike, which happens when the coin fails to eject properly from the striking chamber and is struck again at a different angle, creating a double design that overlaps slightly with the first impression. And you can actually see the faint outline of the Lincoln Memorial pillars appearing just off the main structure, giving the reverse an eerie layered look unlike anything else. And that by itself would make this coin rare enough to fetch thousands or even tens of thousands. But there's more, because metallurgical testing revealed that this particular coin wasn't struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchet used since 1982 but on a planchet that appears to have been partially copper-based, weighing approximately 3.1 grams instead of the normal 2.5, meaning it may have been struck on a leftover copper planchet from before 1982 or perhaps on an experimental alloy planchet that somehow made its way into the presses in 1996, and this kind of transitional planchet error is one of the rarest in numismatics, because it means a blank from a completely different composition and era accidentally got mixed into a modern batch. And the odds of that happening and then surviving mint inspection are astronomically small, and that's part of what gives this coin its enormous value, because it combines a major double die, a rotated double strike, and a transitional metal error, all in one coin, and that is something almost unheard of. And when you look even closer the mysteries deepen, because the rim on this coin shows signs of a broad strike, meaning the collar die that normally holds the coin in place during striking may have been slightly loose or misaligned, allowing the metal to spread outward slightly, giving the coin a wider than normal appearance and distorting the edges of the design. And within the rim you can see tiny die cracks, raised, lightning-like lines running from the edge into the fields, which happen when the die begins to fracture after prolonged use, and every one of those small raised lines is another fingerprint of imperfection, another mark of authenticity that no counterfeit could replicate, and all of these errors together tell a story of what was likely happening at the mint that day. Perhaps a press operator adjusting the machinery, a momentary mechanical failure, or a jammed feeder system that caused one blank to be struck twice, on the wrong planchet, by a misaligned die, and somehow it slipped past quality control and out into the world, where it would remain hidden in circulation until luck and curiosity brought it to light, and when it was finally submitted for grading and authentication, experts were astounded, because they had never seen so many distinct error types coexisting in one coin, and what made it even more fascinating was its near-perfect preservation, suggesting it may have been pulled from circulation almost immediately after minting, protecting all its remarkable features. And once the story broke, it spread like wildfire across the collecting community, sparking debates, research papers, and even theories about whether this coin could have been a deliberate test strike. Because some believed it was created during a calibration phase at the Denver or Philadelphia Mint when technicians were experimenting with pressure settings, alignment, and planchet feed speeds, and somehow an experimental coin escaped the facility, while others insisted it was simply an incredible coincidence of multiple overlapping errors, a natural masterpiece of chance that can never be repeated, and regardless of its origin, it became a sensation, not just for its rarity but for its beauty, because despite its imperfections, or rather, because of them, it stands out as a work of art in metal, a frozen moment of minting chaos. Captured forever, and when it finally went up for auction, collectors from around the world competed furiously for it, knowing they were bidding on something that would never come again, and the final hammer price stunned even the auctioneers when it sold for a breathtaking $6 million, setting records for a modern Lincoln cent, and solidifying its place in history as one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered. And beyond the price tag, what makes this coin so captivating is what it represents: the unpredictability of the minting process, the fragility of perfection, and the magic that happens when error becomes art, because each mark, each crack, each tiny misalignment tells a story of pressure, heat, motion, and chance, a story written not by human hands but by the mechanical heart of the mint itself, and that's what fascinates collectors most, the idea that every coin has a life, a moment of creation, a split second where everything either goes perfectly or doesn't. And sometimes those imperfections produce something worth millions, and as people around the world heard about this $6 million 1996 cent, interest in searching pocket change and coin rolls exploded once again, with new collectors eager to find the next hidden treasure, the next impossible error, the next piece of history that everyone else missed, because if this coin could exist, then others might too. And that excitement keeps the world of numismatics alive, because every time someone looks closely at their change they're participating in a centuries-old tradition of discovery, and while the 1996 cent remains one of a kind, it has inspired countless searches for similar examples, with people checking for doubling around the date, the word liberty, or the Lincoln Memorial, and occasionally finding minor errors worth hundreds or even thousands. But none have ever matched the combination of features seen on the $6 million example, and experts say that's part of what keeps it so valuable. It's not just rare, it's singular, an absolute one of one, the kind of coin that redefines what rarity means, and as technology advances,